for 24/7 news. The Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
If you like using debit over credit, shouldn't you also get rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases with no fees, period. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers are on a 4-game winning streak. They held on last night to beat Portland by 5. Strong game from Kawhi Leonard, 34 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Kawhi has scored 75 points in the last 2 games. James Harden and Paul George had 20 points each. Quick turnaround for the Clippers. They play Sacramento tonight at Crypto.com. The Lakers are in Dallas tonight. First game for the Lakers since winning the in-season tournament Saturday night in Vegas. 4:30 tip-off on TNT. More bad news for the Chargers in a bad season. They will not have quarterback Justin Herbert for Thursday night's game against the Raiders in Vegas. Herbert has a fractured finger on his throwing hand. The Chargers are 5-8. Even if they won their last 4 games, they will not make the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's the gift-giving season, and we have a gift for you. Visit us online at KBLA.store for holiday savings of 20% off all of our KBLA swag. For the best in merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store right now. And be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all our official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580, at 20% off, but only during the holiday season. Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
That's us around here, keeping our heads to the sky. You're listening to Tavis Smiley, and we are delighted to have you hanging out with us today. So join us and keep your head to the sky. Sounds of blackness and sounding good. In this hour and for the hour, professor and chair of the Department of Africana Studies at Cal State Long Beach and the creator of Kwanzaa, Dr. Malana Karenga. Dr. Karenga, how are you today, sir?
Good. I'm glad to be on your program again.
It's good.
Thank you for reaching out. Thanks so much.
No.
Good.
Always good to talk to you. Good to have you on, and I'm glad we have an hour. We need an hour to unpack all the stuff that's happening in the world. that I'm sure
That's
that you want to sound off on, and I want you to sound off on in this hour. Let me start with this, and we'll work our way through this hour. I know that every year, and I want to, let me just do this. I'll tell you where I want to go initially here. So just work with me, and then I'll give you the runway. The first two things I want to do, one, is to ask you to share with me what the theme is. I know that every year you have a theme. There is a theme for Kwanzaa every year. One, I want to ask what that theme is. And then secondly, I always want to be respectful of those who may be listening to this program for the first time, may be hearing you for the first time on this program, or those who may not know the backstory of how Kwanzaa came to be. So I want to take a few minutes here to let you tell the backstory of how you created Kwanzaa, which is celebrated, again, around the world now. But you are the creator of it, so I want to hear the creation story, as it were, in a moment. But first, tell me what the theme is that you've chosen for Kwanzaa this year.
Okay. On this 57th anniversary of Kwanzaa, I've chosen the theme and for the founder's message, Kwanzaa, freedom, justice, and peace, principles and practices for a new world. Because we're always struggling for a new world where everybody can be free, everyone can have justice, and we can have peace in the world for the well-being of the world and all in it. So that's the theme.
Okay. So we're going to unpack that this hour. Notions of freedom, notions of justice, and notions of peace. And I think this audience is pretty smart. They can already imagine some of the ground, some of the territory, some of the terrain that we are going to traverse in this hour. Just given those three words: freedom, justice, and peace. We're going to unpack all of that as we move through this hour. Now, tell me once again briefly the story, the backstory of how you came to create Kwanzaa.
Okay, well, thank you. I created Kwanzaa in the midst of the Black freedom movement, and I was a doctoral student at UCLA, and we all of us started talking about in the Black Student Union, what are we going to do with this knowledge? And Dr. Mary McCleaver Thune said, knowledge is the prime need of the hour, but people want to know what you're going to do with your knowledge. So the question was, what do we do? And she said, it's up to us to use our knowledge for human good. It's up to us, she said, quote, to discover the dawn and then share it with our youth and the masses of our people who need it most. And so what is very important for us is to take this knowledge and realize knowledge is not simply knowledge for knowledge's sake. Knowledge is for human sake. How do we improve our present and imagine a whole new future? And as we say, forge it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive way. So I left my doctoral studies. I joined the movement. I began to develop my philosophy, Kawaida, out of which I created Kwanzaa and its 7 core principles, the Nguzo Saba. And I developed and founded my organization, US, along with 7 other founding members. But, I called them to my house, and we always do things like that. Called them to our house and laid before them the 7 principles and what I thought we should be doing in the wake of the martyrdom and assassination of Haji Malcolm. And I would just like to interrupt this to say, one of the things that we have to do is always talk about our history in dignity-affirming ways. So we say martyrdom and assassination. Assassination is what the enemies of Malcolm and us and human freedom did. But the question is, what did Haji Malcolm do? He gave his life so that we could live fuller and more meaningful one. So we know the assassination, but we've got to deal with martyrdom, the martyrdom of Haji Malcolm, the martyrdom of Dr. King, right? And so I think it's very important for us to talk about what the people who gave their lives for us meant to us and why they made the decision to go on, even when everybody thought, well, maybe not everybody, many people thought they should back. I mean, you have a right to save your life, but the question is, saving it under what terms?
Hold that thought. He's warming up. Saving it under what terms? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about martyrdom. I'm going to get the rest of this Kwanzaa story and how he came to create these principles before we jump too deep in this hour. I just want you to understand the backstory. It's 57 years of celebrating Kwanzaa, but how did Kwanzaa come to be? You're hearing it from the creator, Dr. Malana Karenga, on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Deal it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bussin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com. Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is offering health plans starting at $0 a month. Each plan provides benefits including $0 preventive services, 24/7 telehealth services, around-the-clock nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, and more. Shop and compare premium silver plans with $0 deductibles to help meet your health goals. Ready to shop? Visit us online at lacarecovered.org for a commitment-free instant quote or speak with us directly at 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered, your affordable path to wellness.
Now. We tend not to think about now. We dream about tomorrow, relive yesterday. But right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. Learn more at v.org.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Dr. Malana Karenga is our guest in this hour. You know him, of course, as the creator of Kwanzaa, now being celebrated in its 57th season. Professor, of course, and chair of the Department of Africana Studies at Cal State University, Long Beach. We will talk in this hour, Dr. Karenga, about martyrdom. I've got that note. We'll talk about freedom and justice and peace, the theme of Kwanzaa in this 57th season. But finish telling me the story of those 7 principles and how you came to create that.
Yes. So, present what you've said, if I'm saying correctly, just to add the other context, is I'm in an organization. I'm the executive director of the African American Culture Center, US, and the organization, US. Us means us. And we stress us to stress the people and our commitment to the people and our opposition to those who would oppress the people. So, us. And so I created it, first of all, by leaving my school and beginning with leaving UCLA, working on my doctorate, and then beginning serious research that I'd already started in UCLA, but I'm asking, how can I help the movement? Keep in mind that Kwanzaa is created in the context of the movement. And so what I do is dialogue with African culture, and I have not moved from that. I believe that one of the most important things we can do today It's a dialogue with African culture. Both the continent and the world are African community, right? And so what I did was ask, what are some of the fundamental principles and practices that held these societies together, gave them their humanistic and advanced world encompassing view? And I asked, can I incorporate that in a program of practice for us in our struggle? Because I'm in the struggle. The struggle is there. At this time, 65, we're going into a transition from the civil rights section of the Black freedom movement, the civil rights phase, I should say, which was from 55 to 65, and the Black Power phase, which is from 65 to 75. And so I participated in the civil rights phase, but I also take opposition to people who want to call the whole Black movement the civil rights movement. It's not. The whole Black movement is the Black freedom movement. And that's what I want to stress here, is that we were struggling for freedom. As Haji Malcolm said, to just talk about civil rights, that's like we're just petitioning the government. But we were struggling for rights that we were born with, what he called God-given and natural rights. And I'm writing a book on it. I might talk about that later. But we were struggling for natural right, the right to be free. It's a human right. It's not a civil right. It's a human right. The right to have security of person, right, and people. That's a natural right. No one gives us that. We have that by birth. And so we fought for civil rights, but we were fighting for freedom. Let's listen to this. We had freedom songs, not civil rights songs. We had freedom schools, not civil rights schools. We had freedom rides, not civil rights rides. Rescue me if I'm wrong. So what they've done, though, Tavis, is they have limited the scope. But people in the world know our scope. They borrow our moral vocabulary and our moral vision and pose our struggle as a model, whether in Africa, Latin America, the Chinese democratic struggle, the Eastern European freedom struggle, the Palestinian liberation struggle, right, the Arab Spring. They sang our songs, borrowed our moral vocabulary, and posed our struggle, I repeat, as a model to emulate. And so we must not reduce our struggle to a local one. It's a world-encompassing struggle that advances the realm of freedom, not only in this country, but in the world. Because we are key people. We are key people in a key country. And our liberation would not only free this country from the grotesque grasp of racism and capitalism and all those other isms that constrain human freedom, but it would actually expand the realm of human freedom in the world. That's the beauty of it. And I don't want us to ever lose the fact that we are more and social vanguard of special mission, given the meaning of blackness in a racist society, in a pathological, pathogenic racist society, right? And this is what all of our great people have told us. And I know Nana Martin Luther King is a favorite of yours, but what did he tell us when he first took over the Montgomery Movement Association? What did he tell us? He said, let us so, this is the first night he takes leadership, let us so struggle that years from now, historians will have to say that there lived a great people, a black people, who through their struggle injected a new moral meaning and morality in the veins of civilization. This is our challenge and overwhelming responsibility. And at the end of his life, he reminded us of our moral and social vanguard role. He said, I might not get there, but you will. And he assumed we were going to fight, strive, and struggle to get there. We have a special mission in history, and I don't want us to ever forget that. So Kwanzaa incorporates that mission. So I not only dialogue with books and reading, I dialogue with my own members inside the organization, and we discuss certain things. But in the final analysis, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. In the final analysis, finish your thought.
Yeah, in the final analysis, I had to sit down and write these things down, conceptualize these things. With all the research I'd done, I had to make meaning. All the conversations I had to make meaning of it. And so I first created the Nguzo Saba, right? That was the principles for practice in liberational struggle, because we're about liberation now. We're about freedom, right? And I created a holiday for 4 basic reasons. Number one, to reaffirm our rootedness in African culture, because we had been lifted out of our own culture, as I've said so many times, and made a footnote and gotten casualty in other people's culture. And so what we needed to do, as Nana Amilcar said, we had to return to our own history and culture, right? What we say in our organization, us, and in Tavis philosophy, my philosophy, that's also, I created that during that time. We say we must be ourselves and free ourselves. And we can't free ourselves unless we be ourselves. But we can't fully be ourselves until we fully free ourselves. So there's an interaction all the time there, right? We got to be ourselves. To be ourselves without penalty, punishment, or oppression, right? And to free ourselves from what? Domination, deprivation, and degradation. So second, I created Kwanzaa in order for us to have a time all over the world to come together and meditate on the awesome meaning of being African in the world. What does it mean to be the fathers and mothers of humanity, the elders of humanity and of human civilization? To have introduced some of the basic disciplines of human knowledge in the Nile Valley civilizations and taught the world who's good and beautiful, and to made an enormous contribution to the forward flow of human history. And what does it mean to be the sons and daughters of the Holocaust of enslavement? What does that mean? That means, as Nana Harriet Tubman told us, we have a commitment to be free or die, that we must struggle to be free, and that if we get tired, we have to keep going. If we get hungry, we got to keep going. If we get scared, we got to keep going. And if we want to test freedom success, we got to keep going. So it's that persistent, righteous, and relentless struggle to expand good in the world, right? We're always for, Tavis, African and human good and the well-being of the world and all in it, right? And we don't move away from that position. And we move that as black people. We don't have to disguise ourselves. No one else does. Why do we have to explain black away? You know, we have to be serious about it. That's what Nana Fanon meant when he said, we wear the mask. We got to take off the mask and be ourselves so we can free ourselves. And then third, so, you know, with this holiday, this Pan-African holiday, celebrated on every continent in the world by millions throughout the world African community. So that's a beautiful thing, uniting us in ways no other holiday or philosophy does. Third, I created Kwanzaa in order to introduce, as I said earlier, the Nguzo Saba, but also the communitarian values that are attached to that philosophy, that Kawita philosophy. And when I say communitarian values, I mean values that stress and strengthen family, community, and culture, and make us always think in harmony with each other. Not any kind of harmony, but a principled, purposeful, and practical harmony, one that teaches us to value each other in special ways, right? To understand that we're the ones who taught the world that humans are in the image of God, that they are bearers of dignity and divinity. I mean, as early as 2140 BC in the book of Keti, Keti says to us in the Hosea, the sacred text of ancient Egypt, humans are in the image of God, came from his very person, and that there's certain things we should not do to ourselves nor allow others to do for fear of violating that sacred respect. And Jetty says to Pharaoh, we can't experiment on even a nameless prisoner because they are the noble images of God and they are bearers of dignity, shepesu. And that dignity is an inherent worthiness that is transcendent, that is beyond all social and biological characteristics like race and class and gender and sexuality and age and ability. And that is equal in all, and that is inalienable. So that's what I mean about us being a moral vanguard. And so I'm thinking of these things as I'm creating, right? And I want to put these values there. And I said at the heart of these communitarian values must be the Nguzo Saba, and they are in Swahili and in English. And even putting them in Swahili is to create a different kind of consciousness. Umoja, unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economic. Nia, purpose. Kuumba, creativity. And Imani, faith. So, and then finally I created, of course, I should have put this at first, to contribute to the Black Freedom Movement, to advance it. And so we've been always concerned with liberation. We said liberation is coming from a black thing. That no matter how numerous or sincere our allies are, those who would be free must strike the first, the final, and decisive blow. Kwanzaa is a celebration of family, community, and culture, and it all asks us to commit ourselves to struggle, to honor, and to give the conditions and capacities for our family and our community and our culture to grow and flourish so that we can develop ourselves, defend ourselves, advance ourselves, and come into the fullness of ourselves.
So if you've never heard the story, the backstory for how and why Kwanzaa came to be 57 years later, now you know. There's your in-depth response. There's your in-depth answer to how Dr. Maulana Karenga created Kwanzaa again, now being celebrated for the 57th year. You heard him say earlier he got on a roll, and we've had this conversation many times over the course of my career and his. So I know how to stand down when he gets started. I jump in when I need to, but I stand down when he's on a roll explaining stuff because he does it so beautifully. But I always get tickled. He knows this. I say it to him all the time. The very first time I met Maulana Karenga many years ago, I'd heard his voice on tape before I actually met him. And he said something in that tape that was shared with me that just made me jump out of my seat. And every time I hear him say it, I literally about jump out of my seat again. And I love this phrase. He gets going, he'll say, "Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong. Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong." And I love that line, "Rescue me if I'm wrong." That's Maulana Karenga's line, and I love it. I have found myself using it every now and then, but it's a cold line. "Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong."
Rescue.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let me ask. Oh, I love that line. "Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong." It's got a black preacher edict written all over it. I just love it. I love it. Rescue me if I'm wrong. So let me ask you this.
That's an honor. If that's so, that's an honor to my father, who's a minister.
Oh yeah,
right? Very learned and deep spiritual. A meaning minister. So was my mother.
Yeah.
So I accept that, but usually I correct people and say I'm from the Malcolm tradition.
No, I get it.
From the
no.
Yeah.
I'm
from the teacher.
You made it clear.
The teacher tradition.
You made it clear, man. But Malcolm was a minister himself. I didn't say what kind of ministry. I just said a minister. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
That's right.
He's in that. He's in that tradition.
I'm conceding to you, Tavis. You know you got the right heart.
No, I respect that. I respect that, and I meant no disrespect by that comment. Not at all.
Oh, you know I don't take it that way with you. I mean, we passed that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When we come forward, I'm just watching my time here. When we come forward, now that we've laid the groundwork and we've set the table for how Kwanzaa came to be. How he created it. When we come forward, we'll spend the last half hour, the next half hour, addressing and breaking down the theme of Kwanzaa on this 57th season. The theme, as you heard him say, is about freedom and justice and peace, and I've got some questions about that. What does the fight for freedom, the fight for our freedom, look like to Dr. Maulana Karenga in this present moment in late modernity? We'll talk about that. Justice, Lord Jesus, whether you're talking justice in the Middle East or anywhere else, how is he seeing the frame of justice right about now? And somebody said, "Let there be peace on earth." But where? There seems to be no peace on earth right about now during this holiday season. So we're going to interrogate all three of those key words in this year's theme: freedom, justice, and peace. But the creator of Kwanzaa, Dr. Maulana Karenga. Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong. You listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden is meeting with Ukraine President Zelensky at the White House. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told reporters the meeting comes at a time when Russian forces are ramping up attacks on civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. Zelensky's visit comes at a crucial moment in negotiations for emergency aid to Ukraine. The Texas mother at the center of the lawsuit over the state's abortion ban has left the Lone Star State. Her unborn baby was diagnosed with a fatal condition, but her doctors refused to end the pregnancy over fears of prosecution. Her attorneys said in a statement that the case shows abortion bans are dangerous for pregnant women and exceptions don't work. And that's the latest. I'm Ree Harris on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Boost Infinite's new wireless technology gives you 3 networks for the price of 1 and better service at a lower price. Switch today. Visit boostinfinite.com. That's boostinfinite.com.
Boost. Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers are on a 4-game winning streak. They held on last night to beat Portland by 5. Strong game from Kawhi Leonard, 34 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Kawhi has scored 75 points in the last 2 games. James Harden and Paul George had 20 points each. Quick turnaround for the Clippers. They play Sacramento tonight at Crypto.com. The Lakers are in Dallas tonight. First game for the Lakers since winning the in-season tournament Saturday night in Vegas. 4:30 tip-off on TNT. More bad news for the Chargers in a bad season. They will not have quarterback Justin Herbert for Thursday night's game against the Raiders in Vegas. Herbert has a fractured finger on his throwing hand. The Chargers are 5-8. Even if they won their last 4 games, they will not make the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Every child deserves the best teachers, facilities, and academic programs to set them up for success. At Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania, we make that a reality for children from qualifying families who are looking for greater opportunities. Milton Hershey School enrolls students from pre-K through 12th grade from across the United States to live and learn on a beautiful state-of-the-art campus with all costs covered. Are you looking to set your child up for success or know a child who could benefit from Milton Hershey School? Learn more at mhskids.org/admissions.
Did you know that every year, public school teachers spend nearly $500 of their own money for student supplies? At Donors Choose, we want students and teachers to have the tools they need for a great education. And now, more than ever, they need your help. Go to DonorsChoose.org and choose from teachers' requests that support reading, math, science, music, and more. Learn more at DonorsChoose.org.
Donors Choose. Support a classroom. Build a future.
Today, young adults face big questions about their future. How will you make your mark? Do you want to be part of something bigger than yourself? Are you ready to learn new skills and make new friendships? Perhaps you have a dream that you're ready to make real. So, how will you make a mark with your future? As you embark on a journey toward finding these answers, the military can serve as a resource for providing help, information, and opportunities. A public service message from the Department of Defense. To learn more, visit today'smilitary.com.
Hey, it's Amanda, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is that they're so easy for the holidays. They're warm and flavorful. It's always a crowd pleaser. When I put down a nugget tray, everyone is happy.
Hey, this is Brian, and the little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is the joy that it brings to me and everybody around me during the holidays. They're warm, juicy, and delicious.
Cater the holidays with Chick-fil-A today. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
It sounds different because it's Dr. Malana Karenga. He always has his own unique voice, his own unique style, and I love it. Somebody rescue me if I'm wrong. Our guest is Professor and Chair of the Department of Africana Studies at Cal State University, Long Beach. And Dr. Karenga, you'll be happy to know for all the times we've conversed on this program and elsewhere, I'm getting all kinds of comments on our social media platforms of how grateful people are to have learned finally more of the backstory of how you created Kwanzaa. So I'm glad I asked that question because people are learning, as am I, about how this holiday now in its 57th season came to be. So you should be happy to know that people are thrilled to have learned more about the origins of Kwanzaa from the creator. And I consider it a blessing, as always, to have you on this program. Let me just offer some breaking news. I want to get to freedom and justice and peace. And moments ago when I said, whether in the Middle East or elsewhere, notions of justice and notions of peace and notions of freedom abound in this holiday season. And now we get this breaking news. I've been asking on this program for a long time, when is President Biden finally going to see the light? When will he finally use the phrase ceasefire? When will he finally call for de-escalation? He hasn't quite done that yet, but breaking news reported by the New York Times literally moments ago, Israel is losing support, says Joe Biden, rebuffing Netanyahu's plans for post-war Gaza. Let me just read the first paragraph or so of this article. A divide between Israel and the U.S., its closest ally, burst into the open on Tuesday as President Joe Biden warned that Israeli leaders were losing international support for their war in Gaza, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected out of hand the American vision for a post-war Middle East. What they're talking about here is that Bibi Netanyahu has made it clear that the Palestinian Authority will have no role. He wants them to have no role in Gaza the day after Hamas, as he puts it. The day after Hamas, he wants the Palestinian Authority to have no role in Gaza. And that does not sit well with the Biden White House. And so Joe Biden has finally come out and said publicly that Israel is losing support for its war. He ain't said ceasefire yet. He hasn't said de-escalation yet. He ain't stopped sending checks yet. But he's finally come out and said that Israel is losing support in this country and around the globe for its war. That's a big, big deal, given how stalwart he has been standing next to and defending Bibi Netanyahu. I yield to the gentleman from Cal State University, Long Beach, for his response.
Yeah. Appreciate what you said, if I understand correctly. We would not be in this position today if Joe Biden had told Israel, no, don't go, and said it publicly. He went over there and embraced the guy in a bear hug. Everybody says this, so it's not like I'm coming new. And he signed the death warrant of close to 20,000 Palestinians. Israel knows it's not killing Hamas people. Hamas couldn't keep running if they killed them. The reality is that all of these people are civilians, the ones they lined up and humiliated with their pants off. What kind of sexual freakism is that? Why do we have to humiliate the people sexually? And also in a gender manner. Why do you have to do that? They do the same thing, strip the women in prison. You know, we had reports of rape of the little boys in prison. We got to quit all that. And both Joe Biden co-signed that kind of conversation. 20,000 people killed, 50,000, right? Wounded at least. We don't even know how many killed because they're under the rubble. We talked about destruction, intentional, wanton destruction of homes and hospitals and heritage sites. Why are you bombing up a 1,000-year-old church? Why? One of the oldest churches in the world is in Palestine, and they bombed it. And what about the mosque and all these heritage sites? And then the whole neighborhood's bombed out. Whole families destroyed, generations. Schools, mosques, churches, emergency vehicles, food and water system, sanitation system, power and energy system. And Biden, he wants to argue that, hey, you know what? These are casualties of war. You know, he said that. I mean, can you imagine somebody say something as immoral and sick and amoral as that? And besides, saying, notice how they talk about killing other people. He wouldn't do that if it were the Jews being killed in that number. Or even few on campus, right? Look at the right wing trying to stop the presidents from upholding freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. How can we have a college? I'm a professor. The white boy is not going to tell me what to say on campus. I mean, I'm just, hey, rescue me if I'm wrong. I'm telling you, this is a reality. This is a reality that they're trying to create a kind of cancel culture. They're the ones who always blame the left for doing that. But they're doing it. The right wing is doing that. And look, what Biden said, listen to what you said he said. Israel is losing support. Not Palestinian babies are being disconnected from their incubators. Not dialysis patients dying for lack of fuel to get to that. And he called that self-defense. How is killing babies and whole population? How is that self-defense? Self-defense could have been, in fact, the 15,000 Palestinian fighters that they said they killed. And, you know, even though they said 1,200, you know, it was 350 soldiers, right? 850 civilians. And I'm against, just to let you know, I'm against the killing of civilians. I can't make the argument I'm making now for Palestine and Palestinians if I don't at the same time say those Israeli civilians shouldn't have been killed.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
We cannot stand for that. We have to be morally consistent. And what I don't like about white racist reasons is that they're morally selective. They want to give Israel a position it doesn't have, even for this country. Biden couldn't do what Netanyahu is doing. America couldn't do what Israel is doing. How did that? How do we flip that? They used to call that the tail wagging the dog. Now, without American support, you and I both know Israel could not exist. That's just reality. And what Biden did the other day, vetoed against the whole world. 13 countries voted for it. He's the only one voted against it. Can you imagine that? What is that about? So that's no more sense. So I don't even take that seriously. What he's doing, trying to save Israel, trying to make like, oh, we got to protect Israel's image. What we need to do is protect the lives of babies and children and women and men and the elderly and the disabled. Who would attack you know what? Attacking the Shiva Hospital and pretending somebody's there. Then show us a calendar that he says is the names of Hamas fighters. Hey, please. So the reality is that happened. You know this happened before. In my article this week in the Sentinel called Gaza, Guernica, Picasso, and Paul Robeson, Resisting Receptivity to the Ordinariness of Evil. And what Biden and Netanyahu and the right-wing regime that's ruling Israel now wants us to do is to get used to and receive the ordinariness of evil.
Yeah.
His evil.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, you're fine. The ordinariness you said of evil. I take your point. Just watching my time here. In case you've just tuned in, what you are hearing is Dr. Milana Karenga, professor at Cal State and chair of the Department of Africana Studies at Cal State Long Beach, has been commenting for the past few minutes on this breaking news reported by the New York Times and others now. Joe Biden has said publicly, this is a quote, Israel is losing support. That's a quote from President Joe Biden. He and Bibi Netanyahu are at odds now on what the post-Gaza, what post-Palestine should look like. Bibi Netanyahu wants no involvement from the Palestinian Authority. Joe Biden is not down with that. And so we finally have a disconnect between these two world leaders. And when the president goes on the record, president of our country goes on record and says that Israel is losing support, that rift is going to be dissected for days to come. And now there'll be a great deal more conversation about what happens next, that the president has gone on record and said publicly to the world that Israel is losing support for its war in Palestine. More with Dr. Milana Karenga, the creator of Kwanzaa, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
For some children, a single surgery can turn an untreated cleft into a smile for life. But at Smile Train, we understand that most children need a little extra care. They need medical, dental, and emotional resources to grow healthy and strong, to express themselves clearly, and to navigate all of life's challenges so that their smiles light up the room as brightly as possible. Visit SmileTrain.org to learn how Smile Train is supporting the cleft community with lifelong smiles.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Dr. Karenga, watching my time is getting tight on me here. We were just talking, of course, about the fight for freedom and justice and peace in the Middle East. Again, in case you've just tuned in, there is some breaking news regarding the the war in the Middle East, and Joe Biden, our president, of course, and Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, are now out in the open. There are some public divisions. These divisions have now gone public about the post-war plans for Palestine, for Gaza. So that's that. We were talking about that a moment ago, Dr. Karing. I want to just, again, watching my time come closer to home and ask you how you read in this present moment the black freedom struggle, the black fight for freedom.
Well, first of all, let's start with our fundamental principle given to, and thanks for allowing that conversation, because, you know, a lot of people are afraid to even have that conversation.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's important for black people to reaffirm their role as a critical social and moral vanguard in this country. And they have to remember their history. This is our duty, we say, to know our past and honor it, to engage our present and improve it, and to imagine a whole new future and to forge it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive way, keeping ethics at the forefront, okay? And so we start from our foremother, Anna June Cooper, who said, we take our stand on the solidarity of humanity, the oneness of life, and the unnaturalness and injustice of all favoritism, whether of sex, race, condition, or country. We start with that. And then we ask ourselves, how do we, in fact, organize ourselves? Because there is no substitute for an aware, organized, and engaged people constantly involved in a multiplicity of activities to define, defend, and advance their interests. And then we have to develop a black agenda and not think that a black agenda is isolationist, separationist, or inferior to the white. In fact, our agenda is always inclusive of everyone. It's the European that did the exclusive agenda from the founding of the country and the Constitution to right now is what he's doing. So it's important to us to keep that freedom struggle going. Yes. And I just wanted to say that, you know, I have to say this. We're going to do freedom. Freedom has to be an inclusive and shared good.
Hold that thought. You answered my question about that first part about the black struggle. I'll let you finish your thought about freedom when we come forward in our remaining moments with Dr. Milana Karenga. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, They host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
I've got 3 minutes left, Dr. Karenga. I will shut up and give all 3 minutes to you to finish your thoughts about freedom, justice, and peace as we celebrate Kwanzaa 57 years in.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to quickly say, freedom to be good, justice to be good, peace to be good, has to be a shared good for everyone. And that means that the Palestinians, the Haitian people, and all other Africans everywhere, the Rohingya, Burma, the Uyghurs of China, and everybody else that's oppressed, all the oppressed, struggling people need to be free or we'll never succeed. Dr. Martin Luther King said it, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and so is freedom. So I tell you, continue the struggle, keep the faith, hold the line, love and respect our people and each other, practice in Guzo Saba, seek and speak truth, do and demand justice, be constantly concerned with the well-being of the world and all in it, and dare help rebuild the overarching movement that prefigures and makes possible the good world we all want and deserve to live in and leave as a legacy worthy of the name and history of Africa. And I end by wishing you all this Kwanzaa greeting. We wish you all the good that heaven grants, the earth produces, and the waters bring forth from their depth. Happy Kwanzaa to all of y'all. Head is our Kwanzaa.
That was beautiful, beautiful. I got a few seconds left, so I got to, you know me, I've already got questions. If I got time, I got questions. I love that. I love that close. Let me just ask you right quick, though. What your takeaway is, you mentioned this earlier, what your takeaway is from the martyrdom of Malcolm and Martin.
Right. Haji Malcolm said to us, Haji Malcolm said to us that it's a time for martyrs, and we must be willing to give our lives for freedom and justice and equality. And when we give our lives, we can give our lives in 2 ways. We can give our life as death, or we can give our lives as work, self-sacrificial work that might not end in death. For example, Nana Harriet Tubman and Nana Fannie Heyman, they sacrificed their lives, but they kept living, but they made their lives available. They risked death to do what they did for us. So they are martyrs that did not die, but nevertheless sacrificed their life. The ultimate sacrifice is what we talk about when we talk about the sacrifice of Haji Malcolm and Nana Dr. Martin Luther King, Nana Haji Malcolm and Nana Dr. Martin Luther King. That's what we mean, giving your life. And sacrifice, when we talk about sacrifice, we're talking about self-giving. Giving first your heart and mind, second your time, third your effort, fourth your material possession, and finally giving the whole of yourself because you know this is good that you're dedicating your life to. Dedicate your life to good, for it is written in the sacred Odu Ifa that we are divinely chosen to bring good into the world and not let any good be lost.
Dr. Karenga, now I close officially by saying to you, Happy Kwanzaa. Thank you for once again giving us the opportunity to get inside that brilliant mind of yours and to have you share with us the backstory of Kwanzaa, but moreover to comment on the trending topics that are happening and taking place even as we speak, breaking news even in this hour. So again, thank you for your time. Happy Kwanzaa to you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Happy Kwanzaa to you, and thanks for the good work you're doing, Tavis.
You are kind. All the best to you. The final hour of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden is meeting with Ukraine President Zelensky at the White House. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told reporters the meeting comes at a time when Russian forces are ramping up attacks on